Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Chanel Sechan Budhiman. The Armenian PM has just signed the end of the Nagorno Karabakh conflict. A new crisis has emerged. People have spilled on the streets to protest. Before watching the video, don't forget a cup of the warm coffee and the snake subscribes, likes, notifications bell, shares and comments from Chanel Sechan Budhiman. Minutes after Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashiyan signed an agreement to end the conflict over Nagorno Karabakh, a new crisis erupted domestically. Sadness and frustration spilled onto the streets of the capital Yerevan following a shock announcement in the early hours of Tuesday. Launch of Al Jazeera. Thursday, the 12th of November 2020, a peace agreement was signed to end the conflict in the breakaway enclave of Nagorno Karabakh, including favorable territorial concessions to Azerbaijan and at least 5 years of the presence of Russian peacekeepers. Demonstrators stormed parliament and the seat of government soon after. The second day of protests was organized by opposition parties and saw the former prime minister and other high-profile public figures give passionate speeches about the need for a new leader. Starting at the Opera Theatre, the crowd then lined up in convoy, chanting, "Nikol, traitor," to the seat of government, before heading to parliament to call for the impeachment of Pashiyan. The Opera Theatre was an important venue for meeting the original Nagorno-Karabakh independence movement in the 1980s. It turns out that people from all walks of life, from ethnic Armenians who fled to Yerevan from Nagorno-Karabakh amid the violence, to the famous singer, Sophie Makian, the crowd was united by anger and feelings of betrayal. A large number of riot police prevented a repeat of Tuesday's demonstration and many arrests were made. Anna Makrichin, 26, a lawyer from Yerevan, was arrested for protesting near the Opera Theatre. Control of the territory, which is inside Azerbaijan but inhabited by ethnic Armenians, has been debated since the 1980s, with many in Yerevan believing it is an extension of their country. A 37-year-old protester, who asked not to be named, found that his elderly father had been arrested after seeing police officers detain him on the Facebook Live broadcast of the event. He will not be released until the protests are over, he said. Everything we fought for in the revolution, but this is what the previous government will do. Things are no different. People are frustrated and that's understandable. You have to let people protest to mourn the loss of their son, their land, their home. The man said he had lost some friends on the front lines, and had no other choice now but to urge Pashiyan to step down. In a company, if something goes wrong, the CEO resigns. We lost the war, but our prime minister is still in office, he said. In more than a month of fighting, more than 1,000 people have died, including dozens of civilians on both sides. Meanwhile, Azerbaijanis in the area hit by the missile also sought shelter elsewhere. I work with abandoned children and I have to meet them today and tell them that they will never be able to go home because their prime minister gave them, said the protester. If our country will be given away, it could be done 44 days ago and we will not lose thousands of lives. Many feel the country has been duped because they were only informed of the deal after it had happened. The signing, many said, would not be democratic without the consensus of the people. Despite the protests, Richard Giragosian, director of the think tank for the Center for Regional Studies in Yerevan, said the protests did not pose a serious enough challenge for Pashiyan to step down. Backed by self-confidence, which comes from a combination of spoken popularity and a rare source of legitimacy from free and fair elections, the prime minister is unlikely to resign, he said. He has no rivals or credible alternatives. Nevertheless, the frustration is real, the disappointment is genuine. The Azerbaijani army enjoyed steady gains during the 6 weeks of conflict. But the Armenian government and defense forces have denied claims of significant defeats, such as the loss of the strategic city of Shushi, also known as Shusha. For many, Pashinyan's move took many by surprise. Giragosian said anger might turn to Azerbaijan or Baku's ally Turkey in the coming weeks. Karanay, who declined to give her last name, 27, protested with her 5-year-old son, Arakal, who is proudly wearing a small replica of the Armenian army uniform, puffing out his chest for a photo. Her husband had fought as a volunteer soldier on the front lines, even missing the birth of their youngest child, but returned in despair on Tuesday following the announcement. The entire male population of Armenia was there and gladly gave their lives to protect the homeland. My husband is willing to die to provide a better life for our nation's children, she said. I want to be in the army one day, said Nikol, pointing to an Armenian flag on his right arm. Warrior scientist, he corrected himself. The end. A topic about the Armenian PM has just sign of the Nagorno Karabakh conflict. A new crisis has emerged. People have spilled on the streets. Go protest. Don't forget subscribes, likes, notifications bell, shares and comments.